Lawrence McKinney joining me now from his home. And before we get rolling, man, how are things going with you?
Great. I actually just moved into this place last month. It's amazing. I love it.
Well, that's great. I kind of thought it looks a little clean for you, so I thought maybe, it must be
I've
pretty
always had a
new.
clean place. I've always had a clean place.
That's very true, actually. Very, very true. Lawrence, always clean, always fresh. If you follow him on Snapchat, he's got fresh kicks most of the time as well.
Most of the time.
I mean, you're wearing a white hat, which is, a risk. Anytime you wear white, get something on it, but it looks clean, man. It looks really good.
Yeah, dude.
So
My
anybody,
camera, my camera's blurring out. Hang on.
well, it's, most people will be listening to the podcast, but if you want to see his blurry camera, you can also do that on our YouTube channel as he tries to get himself in focus. I just, before we go too deep into the conversation, I do want to focus on what you're doing now, other
hmm
than trying to get your camera to focus. I'm curious the setup you have currently that you're talking to us with.
hmm
I feel like I've seen some things. Maybe you're doing some video game streaming or something like that. You even alluded to it before we started the broadcast, the interview about sitting in that chair for 12 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
So take us through that before we talk about your job.
Um, it's actually kind of a dual setup right here. I got the gaming setup. I actually just mounted my two monitors on a legit mount. And which gives me more desk room. My gaming setup is here, and my work setup is right here. Like my laptop for work is here, and I have a monitor, secondary monitor, which a lot of my actual processing gets done on that monitor, and that's why I'll be sitting here for 12 hours because I'll be going back and forth all day. That's what I do.
So you're able to play games and get work done at the same time?
I mean, it's so the way that it works is when there's a graphic request that comes in, then I'll do the work. But when there's no request, there's no work to do.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, since you brought it up, let's talk about the job itself and
Yeah.
and what graphic request is. Where are you working and what are you doing?
I work for Discovery Communications Incorporated. I believe that's the full name, which is AKA Discovery Channel. Everyone knows it. But I'm at the headquarters, the main technical building, which is in Sterling, Virginia, which is where all of the actual channels run through to get broadcasted out. Um, yeah, it's 19 Discovery channels or 19 channels owned by
Hmm.
Discovery in the US, I believe. And then there's like 70 something in Latin America, and then like another 30 or so in Asia, that we manage, that my team manages. And what I mean by graphic requests is a region or a network will send in a graphic request. That's a weird word to say. And what we do is we process that graphic, quality check that graphic, and then push that graphic to our live servers for playout, off of a schedule, which is really hard to explain if you can't really see it. I know it probably makes no sense, but yeah, all the graphics are on a schedule. And if that graphic isn't in the system when its time comes to be on the schedule, it's going to show up as an error, which is our main goal, to make sure that there are no graphic errors, um, and to make sure that our graphics play out fine. We also make clocks, bugs for the network. I don't. I think you would probably know what I'm saying, but a lot of people who are watching probably wouldn't understand.
Well, and I think that's why that we should take a moment to, try to simplify it a little bit more when you're talking about the graphics that you're making. Say I'm a normal consumer, an average consumer
hmm
watching the Discovery Channel or Nat Geo or whatever it is that the Discovery Channel folks own. What did you make possibly, or could you make today that they could see and know that that was made by you and your team?
Okay. Well, on any network, there's a bug, a logo bug, and it's usually for Animal Planet, it's up in this corner. For Discovery and I think literally every other network, it's down here in this corner.
Bottom
And
right,
it'll
correct?
be, yeah, it'll be like right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it might be flipped. The camera might be, I don't know. I didn't
Well, and
even think about that.
our audio listeners will have to tell them. So top
Oh yeah,
left
and
for
the
Animal
top
Planet.
left for Animal Planet, bottom right for everyone else.
Gotcha.
And sometimes like the networks will have like information that comes out of that bug and says like, hey, uh XYZ show is coming on next, and then after that is XYZ show, and then that graphic goes away. Or there'll be like some text above the bug, which is called ghost text, and it'll be like, you're watching the, I don't know, the ABC marathon or whatever, and it just notifies the viewer of what they're watching. And then there's clocks. Clocks are kind of like the ghost bugs that I just explained, except there's a countdown timer where it's counting down to like a premiere. Like for example, Shark Week, there were so many countdown clocks for Shark Week, where it's like Shark Week starts in like 2 hours, and there's the timer on screen, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, Shark Week!" And it's 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 they're pretty fun to make. Like once you learn everything about my job, it's kind of like, it's almost satisfying making graphics, because like, that like, man, I made that. Like when you see it on screen, you're like, I made that. And it's just like a good feeling. Um, so with the holidays coming up, there's a lot of requests coming in, and there are going to be a lot of special graphics on screen. If you see any like Christmas lights or Christmas gingerbread cookies, anything Christmas themed, we made it.
That's awesome, man. And I can tell that the excitement is there, the passion is there. I've seen it since you took the job.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you first got it, you were excited, because anybody is when they get their, a bigger job.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed to have stayed with you. The interesting part from my perspective is that when you were working for LHSN, you didn't dive into graphics really. We didn't have the graphics packages that we do now with ESPN. It was much more simplified
Yeah.
when you were here, and it was mainly video that you worked on. So uh, when did that kind of shift for you? What happened in your life after college, or maybe even during, that I wasn't aware of, where you thought graphics is a either an in for me, or maybe something that's the end for me?
Honestly, it nothing really changed. Discovery found me. Uh, like when I was looking for jobs, because it was like that year after college. Well, first I worked at like the TV station down in Roanoke, and then I came back home, and for a year I was looking for a job, and I was like putting my resume everywhere, and I put my resume on Monster one day. It was one of the last sites I put it on, and then like a few days later, Discovery contacted me through like a staffing agency, and I started the job, and then a few months later I was hired full-time by Discovery, and that was all she wrote.
That's awesome.
It was a dream come true.